BCV!
Battle Construction Vehicles!
You know, me and my brother didn't get a PlayStation 2 until Christmas 2004. We instead played a lot of our grandmother's since she got one back in 2001. But when we finally did get our own, he got Grand Theft Auto San Andreas that Christmas. I got BCV, Battle Construction Vehicles. If you had a PS2 in the UK at any point in the early to mid 2000s, you probably had at least one game by this publisher, or at least seen them taking up most of the shelf space at CEX. So many unwanted copies of Lake Masters EX lined up in a row. Actually, maybe I should liberate one of them next time. I don't own that game. Where 80s kids in the US had to deal with so many crap games published by LJN Toys, Europe had its own equivalent 20 years later with Midas Interactive. They pretty much existed to publish budget Japanese PS2, and others but mostly PS2, games that US publishers didn't want anything to do with. And for good reason. They say that if you keep going through Midas's catalogue you will get the odd good one, but BCV isn't one of them. Right away we have two choices, story and versus. In versus we have only two playable characters, so which story we're going with. We begin with our main character, Hayato Kongo, running up a flight of stairs from something. When he reaches the roof, we see that he was chased up there by a fucking crane. Then we have the voice acting. Since this wasn't localised in the US, we have a UK based voice cast shouting out this over the top shonen jumpish anime dialogue. In this case, it doesn't quite work.
You're tough, Gramps!
Listen to me! You must succeed your father! I beg you, young master!
Shut it, Gramps! I left because I didn't want to do just that, so he's dead. Still no reason to change my mind.
I'd still take it over Sean Shamble and Chris Sabat, at least I'm entertained, but that's for another time. Basically, Hayato's dad Danjiro was the boss of a construction company that disbanded after he died, leaving the rival Shirabe Corporation to take all the construction work and no work for a company that isn't around anymore anyway.
Is that so? It still has nothing to do with me.
You're wrong! Young master! You are the only son of the construction tiger Danjuro Kongo. The skill to drive heavy vehicles sleeps within you.
That's not how it works. And so we get our first chapter, named like the episode of an anime. Denora, the old guy, takes Hayato back to the company's office where there's nobody left. Hayato just tells Denora to live a good life and goes to leave and look for a job, stating his desire to live his own life. That's unacceptable for the old man who points his crane at Hayato. Hayato comes back by giving his taste in women with one of the most undeserved looks of self-satisfaction I've ever seen. So I'm in a bulldozer for my first fight, and since we're both driving heavy vehicles, how does a fighting game between the two look? Thrilling, isn't it? Each character has a percentage in the bottom corner that goes up as they take damage. There's this sort of block by making a circle of girders rise up around you for a shield. There is an actual attack for each vehicle, the bulldozer reverses back a bit and rams forward and the crane swings. But these moves barely work if you're both just nudging into each other constantly. There, I basically explained just about every fight in this game. The only thing left to talk about is the special moves. They seem to start up at random and can't be controlled. A ring starts coming out of the vehicle and if the other is in it after a few seconds, a cinematic super starts. These are ridiculous and are the only entertaining parts of the game in gameplay. Denora pulls off some kendo shit ending with impaling me on the crane. Hayato rapidly bulldozes his opponent on all four sides to reduce him to a smouldering cube, a common use of bulldozers. But as I said, these can't be controlled, they just happen and it causes me a lot of trouble later. There's also this where we get in a button mashing struggle / shouting match over the right to restore health. I already said I didn't figure out how the specials are started, but this I honestly have no clue and I completely forgot it was even in the game. But that's it for this fight, 3.5 minutes of nudging and Denora is beaten. I pull off a sick wheelie in victory. Of course rubbing vehicles up against each other has awakened Hayato's love for construction work for some reason, and so he's going to try and restore the company. His days of violent construction have begun. Chapter 2. We need a crew for our restarted company. Just being trained to operate heavy machinery isn't good enough, they need to be able to fight off the rival company in them as well. First guy we're going after is Tamanojo Matsubayama, the Machinery Prince. Why? Who gave someone that nickname? I know it's a very anime thing to have a character be the prince of something because they're good at it, but come on. I'm so good at driving a digger, I'm like the prince of driving diggers. He's such a good detective, it's like his royalty. I've shoved so much leg up my bum, I am the Prolapse Prince. I personally own Enter the Matrix on all 4 platforms for no justifiable reason. Unless I do something of worth at some point in my life, my gravestone will say, the Prince of owning Enter the Matrix. Ah yeah, the game. We meet Matsubayama and Hayato will not let the shit royalty jokes drop. He basically just walks up to Matsubayama and demands he work for him. Matsubayama tries walking off but the nagging annoys him into having a fight with us. For this fight Hayato is driving the crane while Matsubayama is in a digger. His specialists use that common digging method of transforming into a wasp and penetrating my crane with the stinger. When Hayato is driving a crane, his has him transform the crane into a baseball bat and bat the opponent into the distance. It also immediately gives Matsubayama another special with no time to move away. That's the problem with this game, trying to move in the direction you want is almost impossible. Despite him pulling out 3 specials from nowhere, I win first time and waggle my career in celebration. And that's all it takes, Masabayama is under my employment. Now for Chapter 3. Denora is acting shifty and Hayato manages to swipe a postcard from him. He has a message written in a cutesy style from someone claiming to have quit their job after hearing of the Kongo crew's return. It's written by someone called Beth. Beth was one of the workers back when Danjuro was alive. After gushing over hearing about hard-working Beth in a bulldozer, Hayato decides he has to pick her up. They're shaking outside and the bulldozer is about to sink to the ground with this crying man in a pink shirt. Hayato makes Matsubayama lift him out and it turns out that he is Beth Gorda. Get it? Hayato was all prepared for an attractive woman but instead Beth is a gay man. This is some original shit by our talented writers. Well, there's no fight, Beth just joins. Chapter 4, we're actually at a construction site. The man labelled Man says that the Shirabe Corporation have won the bid for this lot, but Hayato interrupts. He chucks out some photos revealing that he took a bribe from Shirabe to win the bid. Instead of blackmailing for the job, Hayato wants to win it in a construction vehicle battle. One of the Shirabe employees, Aya Jumonji, agrees to the fight. She's the company's construction force captain. Hayato is a prick. We're in Masabayama's digger, nudging it against Aya's bulldozer repeatedly. This is an incredibly easy fight. She barely tries to fight back. Also, her special is... I don't know. In the digger, Hayato's specialist uses a lightning rod to power his next strike. Once again, most of my damage is caused by her random specials, but I win and our bid is accepted. After a vague threat from Narita, another Shirabe employee, Hayato stares smugly into the distance while Man is overjoyed to watch. He even has a little evil laugh. Chapter 5 now. Denora is feeding Hayato's ego while Hayato says that it was Denora who got the incriminating photo of Man. Denora says he actually got it in an unmarked envelope.
No bees or butterflies today?
What?
Something up with Matsubayama?
Now you mention it, he did actually say something about feeling ill this morning.
Huh.
Okay, they went with a completely different awful caricature voice than I was expecting. Turns out Matsubayama isn't making the digger freak out, it's this woman, Kyoko Tachibana. She was the one who sent the photo of Man. She declares that she's going to start working for Kongo. She even figured out a problem with the digger. Hayato isn't having any of it though, because she's plain looking and he thinks the blackmail photo was an attempt to turn him on. The man's a twat. So he gets in his bulldozer and we have to play as the condescending arrogant arsehole and beat up the actually talented woman for daring to show her intelligence. Sadly there are no alternate paths for losing, so I have to let the man-child get his way. Kyoko drives a forklift in this fight, its only attack is to raise the lift. Her special is pressing a button and I explode. After what we've seen before, that's a letdown, meaning there is no good to come from this fight. Hayato thinks she's trying to hook up with him, but Kyoko just wants to rebuild Kongo crew, though she won't say why. So she joins. Hayato still thinks it's an excuse to get close to him. Chapter 6 brings back painful memories. When I first tried out this game, I didn't make it past this one. We see a Shirabe digger being knocked off the ground by this man, Raita Adachi, who then claims the digger's parts as a reward. After Aya and Narita decide not to tell the president about it, we cut to the Kongo crew discussing him. He's a construction vehicle duelist who takes on other companies and defeats them for their machine parts. You know, like all the toy-based children's anime. I definitely remember shit like this from Beyblade and Yu-Gi-Oh! The one time Hayato decides they can't be messing around with fights, guess who shows up outside? Hayato tells him to get lost and Adachi agrees, but not before saying that they're the 20th company he's visited, and he was expecting at least one to back out. Hayato falls for it and agrees to the fight on the condition that Adachi works for him if he wins. Adachi doesn't care for the offer, but Dona's Hayato then throws in the entire company as the prize if Adachi wins. This is actually the hardest fight in the game. As a kid I couldn't beat it. Back in 2012 I revisited this game and he was still the hardest, but I did beat him and the rest of the game, and this time I also struggled. I wonder, how many of us have played through this entire game more than once? It's an achievement I'm not exactly proud of. Adachi drives a steamroller and his regular attack doesn't actually have a long animation, so you can see my damage percentage skyrocketing. This is also where I learn I can charge the regular attack, and look at that fully charged move, the range. So yeah, I lose the first match, and that's without even landing his special. Said special involves bringing me to the ocean and having a sumo fisherman harpoon me to the depths. Now that's the kind of ridiculousness Kyoko was missing. Nearly 10 minutes of losing and I finally get lucky and cube him into submission. I get silenced and Adachi has joined my crew. Chapter 7 is an easier time, thankfully. Man is visiting us and he tells Hayato that both Kongo and Shirabe placed the same bid for a job, so now they must fight to decide who gets it. Hayato says he can't afford to damage his machines anymore. Man is furious, but Narita interrupts saying that they had the machine wolf Jake Kongo on their side. Jake is a man who stands on top of unfinished buildings in a full suit and it seems like Beth knows him. Narita claims Jake will do anything for money and has an album of his past exploits for everyone to check out. Hayato is about to exit the fight but Masabayama decides to take part instead. And Beth definitely knows Jake. You know Jake's a threat because he drives a black bulldozer, no wimpy yellow for him. His special has him snipe me with traffic cone rockets. I lose the first time but gain the next. We won the job but Masabayama thinks there's something shady going on. Then everyone looks for the album and laughs at Jake's past. On to chapter 8. While everyone's going to lunch, Hayato and Kyoko notice Beth sadly looking through Jake's album. Jake himself shows up demanding the album. Beth Beth accuses him of working for Shirabe just to get back at Beth for breaking up with him. Beth says that on that day he was carrying Jake's, but then he's cut off. Hayato jumps to an idiotic conclusion and Beth decides he has to defeat Jake himself. We have the Bulldozer mirror match. This is my third time playing this game and Beth is the only member of the Congo crew I forgot both times. His special is to kiss the opponent's vehicle rapidly and once more with giant lips to set it aflame. This is another fight that takes me about 10 minutes to win. We then get a scene where one actor is overdoing it while also sounding like he's trying not to wake up his parents in the next room and the other isn't trying at all.
Jake, forgive me for being weak and leaving you. Here it is. When I left, I was carrying your photo. This photo.
I know that, Beth.
But my feelings haven't changed, Jake. I still care for you.
I know you do, Beth.
And then this. I'll be honest, I can't tell if they were playing this for laughs because this game was made in 2000 when people were still using gay as a punchline, or if this is a genuine attempt at a romantic scene that comes off ridiculous due to incompetence because this game is just so weird. It's the first one, isn't it? At the very least it doesn't seem like it was written out of actual hatred, just lazy humour. Well, Beth's character is done now as we start chapter 9. Hayato asks if Matsubayama has seen Kyoko, but he says he hasn't and that she sometimes disappears. Hayato of course thinks that it's because she has feelings for him so strong it drives her mad. Whatever helps you sleep at night. Matsubayama goes to look for her and spots a Shirabe employee named Yuki threatening her. Later on everyone's gathered and they find out that the bids for another job were the same again and it has to be decided by another fight. Matsubayama suggests Kongo may have a leak, but Adachi points out that if that were the case, why match their bid and not go lower? While Hayato brags about the thrashing he'll be giving Shirabe, Matsubayama tells Kyoko to come clean about herself and Shirabe. This time we're going up against Shiro Koiwai, who goes berserk when he gets upset. He gets better control over heavy machinery when he gets upset. That's the crappiest anime superpower I've ever heard of. Shiro drives another crane but his is green like the rest of the Shirabe characters, while Hayato is driving the steamroller this time. I destroy this kid, getting 75% damage while I myself am at 1%. Then he pulls out a special move.
Revenge Diary! Your name goes in the diary!
Eh? This is the one that has me stumped. Is it something to do with that Death Note I know nothing about? Was that around back then? Sadly we don't get to see Steamroller Hayate's special because I defeat him soon after. Shiro drops Shirabe's bid, which turns out to be lower than Kongo's. Turns out we got Man obsessed with watching construction vehicle battles and he's been lying about the bids to make them happen. Narita beats a shit out of Man for losing them 2 jobs and Hayato is content to say there was never a spy. Beth shows up saying something's up regarding Kyoko. A fat bald old guy has her tucked under his arm. It's the president of the Shirabe Corporation, Ume Shirabe. He punches Hayato down and throws Kyoko into his car.
Kongo whelp, if you wish to continue breathing, do not take Yume Shirabe as your enemy.
Really? That's the voice you're going with for your big bad? Hayato demands Denora get after them, leading into chapter 10. They're at the Shirabe building, but this lady Yamado won't let them in. So of course we're fighting. I'm in a dump truck and she's in a forklift. Right away I get caught in a sinkhole. Doesn't stop me giving her a few nudges. This is unbearably tedious to watch. It's like watching one of these videos. After we both get out of the cycle of getting out and falling back in, she uses her special, announcing a bargain sale and having horribly pixelated women charge through me. For this vehicle, Hayato drives around her filled with TNT that explodes around the opponent but doesn't affect him. Once she's been defeated, they're in Ume's office demanding Kyoko back while Hayato's still trying to neg her some more. It's revealed that Kyoko is Ume's daughter right as she disowns him. And he's just, fine, whatever. Tachibana was the name of Ume's wife, who was killed by terminal loneliness because of their loveless marriage. Kyoko says Ume only married her to get her fortune, so she wants revenge against Shirabe and to help out the Kongo crew and everyone's fine with it. Then Hayato ruins the moment. Right, chapter 11. Hayato is arguing with Kyoko of some stupid food shit and I know they intended it to be funny but it really fails. That Yuki guy from earlier shows up and believes that the reason Kyoko left Shirabe is because of her feelings for him. Hayato punches him and the two get in a fight. Yuki's in a digger and I take him out before I can see what his special looks like. Hayato claims to have won Kyoko, but Yuki immediately changes gears and starts telling women aren't objects. That's a joke. Chapter 12. Matsubayama is leaving work early in tears while the others are talking about another amazing driver. All anyone knows about him is his name is Shishio and he has a scar on his chest. Kyoko comes in having found a goodbye note in Matsubayama's room. When she brings up his crying, Hayato believes it was because the previous night's meal was too strongly flavoured. Maybe it's localization, but this game's actual attempts at humour just fall flat. After a while, no one's seen him but Kyoko has found a dog. His leash is shredded from him biting through it. He pisses on Adachi and jumps into a digger, so we have to fight him as Adachi. The dog's special has him not exactly bite, but have a giant ghost dog head bash its nose against me and make me burst into flames. Apart from that, I dominate the fight. Of course I do, it's a dog. Except it turns out that the dog has a scar on its chest and a driver's license on his collar saying Shishio. Kyoko and Adachi are just, that's interesting, but then go right back to looking for Matsubayama. Chapter 13, Hayato is having a dream about his Matsubayama food theory before Denora wakes him up. Man is still claiming the bids were the same and laughing his ass off over there being another fight. Turns out Matsubayama will be fighting on Shirabe's side. He says Shirabe is holding someone dear to him, so he has to fight against us. This time we have Hayato in the forklift. The special this time has him launch them into the air and dice them at high speeds. That's all to say, I lose the first match but beat in the second. Hayato asks who Shirabe is holding and Matsubayama says his master, Shishio. Kyoko reveals they have him and Matsubayama goes in for the hug only to be smacked away and reprimanded. I think this could have been funny in a better game. Well, Matsubayama has rejoined. Kyoko is disappointed because she thought at least Matsubayama was a normal person. We're getting there. Chapter 14. Adachi is looking for Denora and finds his notebook. Inside there's a photo of a young Danjuro and Ume with a girl in the middle. Meanwhile, Hayato and Kyoko are talking about how they're getting bigger and bigger jobs. Denora comes in saying that Shirabe has stolen their new job. Apparently this is the sort of stuff Ume was pulling with Danjuro. They drive to Shirabe and demand a fight, but Naruto says Ume too busy with the new job. So we're fighting him instead. He drives a steamroller and his special has him spend money to make a city bloom underneath me. Even for this game, that's ridiculous. This guy was surprisingly hard, it takes me about 25 minutes to beat him. Ume is leaving and there's some arguing, but when Hayato accuses him of playing dirty just like he did with his father, Ume reveals that he is Hayato's father. Hayato looks mildly concerned at this. This leads into chapter 15. Back at the office, everyone's saying that it can't be true, but Adachi brings up the photo he found. They conclude that the woman in the photo is Hayato's mother. Hayato then pours a bucket of water on his head to show off the shape of it. He has the same pointy head that Ume has. He had a feeling ever since he met Ume and demands answers from Denora. Ume started in the Kongo crew and was friends with Danjuro and Sayuri, Hayato's mother. But Ume kidnapped Sayuri and forced her to marry him, leaving Kongo to form Shirabe. By the time she managed to escape to Danjuro, she was already pregnant with Hayato. This was my second time playing through this bit, and I am still baffled that this goofy-ass game decided it needed to include forced marriage and rape in its backstory. I'm even more baffled that this is still more respectful than Mortal Kombat 11. You just know that game's writers would look at the rapist and his victim and think, power couple, she was in on it and secretly evil all along. Fuck what they did to Sindel. But back in this game, Hayato's a bit understandably peeved that Denora talked up the Kongo bloodline to him knowing the true story all along. He also points out that Ume never actually did anything to him, and that Denora and Beth are the only ones who want revenge. He argues a bit more and Kyoko slaps him, asking if he's really just going to forgive Ume after everything else we just found out, and that this fight has nothing to do with fucked up family history and everything to do with construction work. I mean, either way, Ume's a prick. During all that, Denora's gone missing along with his crane. He's at the Shirabe building begging to fight Ume, but Naruto won't let him pass unless he beats him first. Well, we've already said all that there is to say about these two and I beat him on the first try. Denora makes it to Ume's office but is held back by Yuki. He then fades out and we start the final chapter, chapter 16. Kyoko lets everyone know that Denora has been found, beaten. When asked why, he says it was to carry out his revenge himself, feeling guilt over dragging Hayato into it. When Hayato says it's too late to change things, Denora tells him to stop because even if he wins, what would it accomplish? Yes, what would rubbing your machinery against his harder than he can accomplish? Denora seemingly dies and Hayato cries so loud he takes out the colour. While at Danjuro's grave, Hayato says that no matter the truth, he was his father and declares his intent to finish things with Ume. Denora's voice asks him if that's wise, but Hayato's set. Also, Denora's not dead, he was just using a mic to make his voice echo. Hayato meets up with Ume for the final battle. We're in the digger while Ume has a dump truck, and we even have a new arena for the final fight. Ume is insanely strong, as you can see by his first attack dealing 11% damage to me. For our last special attack, Ume... I don't fucking know. And that's everything I have to say regarding gameplay. All I have to say is it takes me about 4 or 5 attempts to beat him. Ume comes crawling out of his vehicle and Hayato punches him a few times for his parents and Denora. But when he declares a punch for Kyoko, Ume grabs him and punches him.
Listen up, whelp. The world is a mess. If you don't do it, you get done.
What does that have to do with construction work?
Ha! You just don't understand anything!
I really don't. During Hayato's shonen speech bollocks, Ume just gets him in a bear hug.
Fine then.
Eh? What?
Here,
Hayato!
just as I promised. No tricks. But still, you cannot beat Yume Shirabe. You will never surpass me. Never. Remember that.
Really? That's it? And then the developers thought, oh shit, we want to write a Hayato and Kyoko as a couple but we just made them half siblings, what do we do? I got it.
And you, Kyoko, research your past a little. I adopted you. We are not connected by blood. What do you think of that?
Yeah, that's how you got that kind of reveal. Just out of nowhere, followed by, what do you think of that? Every long-lost family reveal in media should be fixed to include that. Then he just walks off and everyone's all smiles. Then we get the credits broken up with pictures of everyone in their daily lives, which include Hayato and Kyoko's wedding. Considering that Hayato's an arsehole to her and Kyoko shows literally no romantic interest in him at any point and is always genuinely annoyed by his comments and Ume is there and happy to watch, leads me to the conclusion that this is also a forced marriage and the son is repeating the crimes of the father. Now there's a happy note to end this game on. While I'm in these credits, let's have a look at the actors. The English cast isn't credited, which is a shame. I feel like I may have heard some of them in much later games and sounding loads better. But we have the Japanese cast, so let's see if I recognise anyone. Ah, I'm sad now. Can you believe it's been 10 years? When I return to the main menu, I've unlocked an art gallery and the time attack mode. It just lets me replay the fights I've already done, but now it keeps time. I get nothing for it, so I can ignore it, thank God. And I now have the entire playable cast unlocked. I can now learn that Yuki Special has him use his digger to slap his opponent through the ground into the Earth's core. And that's it for BCV Battle Construction Vehicles. The game's crap. Everything feels so sluggish, which makes sense for what I'm playing as but doesn't translate into a fun fighting game. The story tries not to take itself seriously but just ends up mostly unfunny. The only real enjoyable part from a so bad it's good view is that shot of Denora chasing Hayato up the stairs in the crane. And the specials, but I can't even recommend trying the game for that, because you only start with 2 characters and have to slog through the entire story mode for the rest. The only passable way to experience this is to look up a long play or something, then all you're losing is time. Definitely the worst game we've looked at so far.